Come to the stage right now. Put your hands together for Kevin!
Welcome to the Unfunny Kevin Show. I am your host, Kevin Melody. It is Friday, March 28th, and I'm sorry I missed last week. Already fucking fell off the wagon of being here every Friday. But, you know, there was, you know, no excuse is a good excuse, but I did have a pretty great excuse. First of all, thanks for supporting the show and listening every week. We love all the new listeners and the OG listeners and the people that keep this shit going. As a reminder, unfunnykevin.com has all the episodes, and you can call us at the hotline 424-244-9599. It's in the bio if I got it wrong. I don't know. And leave us a crazy voicemail because I am working on clipping shit together and playing it. And we'll come up with something creative. I don't know. I got to think about it. But, okay, so last week, what a fucking bizarre, like, bro, I don't even know where to begin. Like, first of all, it was Persian New Year. So, you know, Eid Mubarak, Nowruz Mubarak, Nowruz, Piruz, whatever you say, Eid. For Ramadan, Ramazan is, well, you know, whatever, tomato, is coming up soon too. So everybody, you know, shout out to you guys. Fasting and all. But on the topic of fasting and all the crazy shit that I had to deal with last week during Persian New Year. So Persian New Year was like Thursday, and Thursday I had a scheduled endoscopy. And I don't know if, you know, I'm only in my 30s, blah, 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 blah. The reason I was doing it is I knew for a fact I had some kind of herniated situation going on, and I could tell for a while, and better safe than sorry, and blah, blah, fucking blah. And I'm like 100% better, and I'm glad that I did it. But the jokes, and I mean the story, like everything around the endoscopy is so insane, which I'm happy that I can share with motherfucking all of you. So I talked to my doctor, and he was like, yeah, you got to do the endoscopy, whatever, blah, 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 blah. Better safe than sorry, yada, yada. So I've never done this. Never. I've never done a colonoscopy. I've never done an endoscopy. And when I was really little, I was under anesthesia because I needed like emergency surgery because I had a huge accident. I was like 6. And that story is kind of crazy too. But it's nuts. It's a insane. I can do a whole episode on that. But long story short, I hadn't been under anesthesia since I was a kid. And I don't really remember a lot of how it worked, you know? So the rule was you had to fast midnight to my endoscopy was at 1:30 p.m. and your check-in is 12:30, and you have to fast starting at midnight the night before, which is chill. Like I've been fasting for like 3 years. Like it doesn't bother me. I only eat like fucking 2 meals a day. So I wasn't worried, you know what I mean? But I did it because I had to. I had no fucking choice. So I start the fast. But the weird thing was in the instructions, it said no clear liquid after 8:30 a.m. And I was like, clear liquid is fucking, that's a weird thing to say. That's weird, right? I mean, what is that? So no liquid, no clear, like, so what the fuck does that mean? And so it's like, no drinking or eating after 8:30, and clear liquid. Like, so it was like, I didn't understand. I told my wife, I was like, I think I can have water. She goes, no, dummy, don't have water because that's what it's saying. That's what clear liquid is. And I was like, nah, bro, clear liquid's like lemonade. You know, when you make like fresh lemonade, it's not yellow, like fucking Minute Maid, bro. Like, I was like, there's no way you can't have water. And I was completely wrong. You are not allowed to have water. And I was checked by the fucking person at the intake center. And believe it or not, like, as weird as it sounds, that was the part that fucked with me. Like, I didn't like I'm a crotchety person when I can't have like tea or fucking coffee in the morning. But water, it's like, you know, it's essential. And I was just like, oh my God, I just needed my water. I was so fucking upset. And I was just like, how am I going to push through the day? But I just kept my fucking brain, ADHD brain, distracted. And then it hit me. You know what I mean? Like we were driving over there and I was like, oh, this is interesting. And it's like, they consider it a surgery. So, cause they biopsy when they go in, you know? So it was like surgery center, you know, outpatient, whatever. We pull up there and I'm like, oh fuck. Like this is kind of weird. I didn't really think about this. And of course the surgery center has, you know, people there to do serious things, not just stick a fucking camera in your mouth. Most of them are getting cameras up the ass and fucking weird. You know what I mean? And I'm thanking the Lord that's not me, but I was just like, oh fuck, like what the fuck's gonna happen, you know? So we get up there and it's me and like 4 guys that are like in their fucking 70s and everyone's got a newspaper. I was like in heaven. These are like my fucking these are my boys. My wife looks at me and she goes, wow, look, you're like at home. Some fucking old guy just sitting there with his paper. Some guy comes, sits next to him. He's like, yeah, what are you in for? He's like, they're putting it up my ass. And I was just like, oh God, this is great. This is so funny. So I registered. I was on time. And this gay dude takes me around the counter and he's like, just come over here. We're going to check you in. Everything's fine. And I sit down and he's like, so the insurance, can I get your insurance? I give him my insurance. He's like, okay, so it's going to be $1,000. And I was like, my doctor ordered it. And he goes, yeah, I understand. It's going to be $1,000. I was like, Jesus fucking Christ. He's like, really? It's 4,000. And I was like, oh my God. He goes, you're lucky you have insurance. I was like, yeah, lucky. I'd fucking say, you know? And so I give him a credit card, pay the fucking thing. And then he goes, okay, so did you follow the instructions? And I was like, yeah, bro, I followed the instructions. Yeah. We're good. He's like, did you have water? And I was like, oh my God, is clear liquid water? And he fucking dunked on me in front of my wife. She was right. The fucking, whatever. So then he goes, okay, so he goes, oh, this is an endoscopy. It's very routine. Don't worry. It'll be pretty quick. Blah, fucking blah. And he goes, so we're just going to have you complete this questionnaire. And I was like, okay, let's do the questionnaire. So we go through it. And he goes, the first thing he goes, do you have a will and testament? I was like, no, bro, I'm 30. Everything can go to my wife. And he starts laughing and he goes, sorry, yeah, this part it gets very serious. And I was like, okay. And he goes, these are the things that can happen. Upon entry, we can rupture your esophageal lining and you can bleed out internally. Is that okay? And I'm like, is that okay? No, it's fucking not okay. You can't accidentally rupture my shit. And I was just like, what the fuck am I signing? And he goes, okay, great. He goes, if the anesthesia has a negative reaction, you might cease to exist. They use like those fucking bullshit insurance terms like expire, cease to exist. Instead of saying you'll fucking die, you know, they use that soft language to just fucking completely throw all the shit off, you know? So I just signed everything and then I sit down. Now it's like, I'm like, I can't back out. You know, I paid, which is like so fucking like immigrant mentality of me. I gave them $1,000. If I die, they're killing me because I paid. I'm not getting a refund. I saw the fucking fine print. I can't back out now. Even though for real, bro, I mean like FR, I wanted to fucking back the fuck out. But I stayed true. And I went through and the nurses were so fucking sweet. They brought me in and they took my blood pressure and they go, are you a little nervous? And I was like, nervous? Me? No. And they go, okay, well, you should be at like 120/80 and you're around 150. And I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, well, maybe I am nervous. And she's like, okay, no worries. We're just going to get you comfortable and we're going to hook you up to this thing. Now I'm thinking, I'm retarded. I haven't done this. So I'm thinking, okay, hook me up to the thing. Oh, they're going to put me down, right? Or it's going to be a slow drip. And then I'm going to go into a sleep and then the anesthesia will kick in. Like I didn't realize that you need anesthesiology, the whole nine, because I'm retarded. So I said, okay. And so she gives me a pillow and she goes, all right, we need to find a vein. I was like, cool. I clench my hand They tie me up. She finds a vein. They put the shit in. Now I'm thinking, oh, they're going to swap a bag or whatever. I don't know. I don't know what the fuck. They're going to do the shit now. And so she goes, all right, we're going to dim the lights. And so I close my eyes and she goes, are we doing okay? And I was like, huh? She goes, are we doing okay? I said, yeah, I just don't like to look. She goes, oh, okay. Okay. Like she's trying to be nice to me. And I said, I just don't like looking. She's like, looking at what, sir? And I was like, oh, I just, I got to close my eyes and let go, And she's like, oh, that's odd. And then she comes back with a blanket and she puts it over me and she starts tucking me in. And like, I'm straight up like folding the blankie under me. Like I felt like I was fucking 5 years old. And I'm just like, huh? And I said, oh my God, it's kicking in. And she goes, huh? And I said, the blanket, it's hot. Is that normal? And she starts cracking up and she goes, what do you think is happening? And I was like, I think the anesthesia is strong because I'm fucking. And she just goes, Mr. Melody, if the anesthesia hit, you would be completely, you would black out. And I was like, oh, right. She goes, that's your IV. I said, well, why the fuck is the blanket hot? And she goes, we warm them. I was like, Jesus, where the fuck am I? Fucking Dubai. I feel like I was a prince, a king. I couldn't believe it. I mean, I was like, this is $1,000 that I fucking spent, right? Jeez. So anyway, after the blanket incident, they greet me like, I don't know, maybe 20 minutes later, the anesthesiologist pulls up and he's like, hey, listen, man, just so you know, this will be quick and painless and it's going to happen real fast. Okay. I said, all right, no problem. So they moved me into the op room. Right. And there's like two young girls. I can tell they're like, I don't know, their assistants, my Indian doctor. And then they go, lay on your side. And I lay on my side. And the anesthesiologist goes, okay, Mr. Melody, we're going to put this thing, you have to bite on it. And before you know it, you're going to be out. And I said, okay. And then in the background, I hear like, the rolling hills, the American dream, the cowboy sings a song. It was like fucking Tim McGraw or something bizarre. And I was like, what? I was like, what the fuck? I was like, whose music is that? They go, oh, it's the doctor's. And then all of a sudden, this black nurse, she pops her head in and she goes, hey, she's like, can we change the vibe? And I'm like, I bust up. I go, and he goes, the anesthesiologist, this old white guy, is like, Dr. Patel likes this. This is his playlist. We will switch it after. And I had the tube, the thing in my mouth, and I went, change the song. They said, calm down, Mr. Melody. I said, change the song. Change the song. I'm not going to die. I'm not going to die with Tim McGraw. Change the song. Like I was literally like, I'm not going to die with the country. Change the song. And then they go, okay, Mr. And I just blacked out. And then I woke up. My last memory before the fucking endoscopy is that beautiful black nurse just going, are we going to switch the vibe? And I fucking lost it. I woke up from my anesthesia and there was another nurse and she was like, would you like an apple juice? And I went, did they change the song? And she goes, excuse me? I said, did they change the song? And the black nurse comes out to me and she goes, they changed it, honey. Oh, fuck. It was so good, man. It was fun. It was a fun time. Anyway, everything's fine. I'm fine. Don't worry. Everything's fine. But I missed Nowruz because of the endoscopy and shit. And then Friday rolls around and we get to have like we had a Nowruz party and went to see my mom and my family and it was pretty sick. And then Saturday was dope. I got to watch my cousin's kids. And it's just so interesting. Like when you see, first of all, her kids are fucking incredible. I mean, they're very smart. They don't have like smartphones and shit. And they're very like tapped into the real world. And they're so cool. Like I love them. And it's just so interesting. We were driving on the freeway and my niece, she's like looking out the car and she's just kind of like staring into space. And out of nowhere, she goes, I hate AI. And I said, what? And then her brother's in the back seat. He goes, I hate AI too. And I was like, what the fuck are y'all talking about? And she's just like, AI, like, you know, AI. And I said, no, I don't know. Like what? Like Chat GPT? And then the younger boy in the backseat laughs and he goes, no. And she goes, Chat GPT is not AI. And I was like, all right, don't be a fucking smartass. She's like, it actually sources internet clips and you know, it's not. It's technically an engine, but there's humans behind it. And I was like, okay, what are you talking about? What do you hate? And she goes, well, you know, like Tesla and autopilot, and it's just so interesting how like humans are giving tasks over and they're giving it away to like those robots with the artificial. And I was like, holy shit. How profound. I was like, first of all, listening to you clearly are a fan of the show. And I appreciate that. Thank you. Give me 5 stars in the fucking Spotify, Apple Podcast. Write a comment. Support. Buy an Oklahoma Smoke. Anyway, I was like, wow, how profound. Fuck AI. I agree with you. Hell yeah. It was so cool. Such a human thing, you know? And I swear it's probably because they don't really, they're aware of it. They don't really interact with it, but they know it exists. And they're like, you know, they can feel it. They can feel it. They can feel how odd that is, you know? And I thought it was so cool. But at the same time, it's like, that's the thing is these kids are smart. You know, they're not dumb. They're very educated and raised very well. But you know those motherfuckers that, you know, the iPad baby kids. They love the robots. They want the AI. They don't want to go to school. Look at all the fucking Kai Cenat kids. The Twitch generation. They're completely retarded. I don't think they can read. But they're like, who needs to read, bruh? I got likes. That's right. I got likes. I got chat. Super chat. I'm getting paid, bitch. Kick. Whatever the fuck dumb, stupid shit they do. It's just talentless, mindless horseshit. And here's the thing. I love them. And a big thing is because they're probably not on social media. So they have regular real world anxiety, which is healthy, right? But I think like there's a funny thing where bullying, people are like, you got to bring back bullying. And my sister, speaking of a generation of anxiety, Jesus Christ, because they really had fucking social media and the Kardashians and all that shit. And she said something so fucking funny. She's like, my face isn't asymmetrical. And I was like, that is the rambling of a serial killer. Who says, I feel like Hannibal Lecter said like, Clarice, your face is asymmetrical and succulent. Like who in the flying fuck talks like that? Who walks around saying I don't think in my life I've ever said anything's asymmetrical. I've never said it once. I've heard professors be like, the asymmetry of this artwork. I've never heard anybody seriously say, I'm not asymmetrical. And it's like when it came out of her mouth, I felt a lot of things. I felt profoundly sad because I was like, oh my God, like this generation bullies itself. They don't need bullies. They just go on Instagram and bully themselves into fucking social paralysis, and then they modify their bodies. You know what I mean? I'm not talking about my sister, but I'm just saying all these bitches will bully themselves into BBLs, bro. They'll bully themselves. They'll see this shit online and go, this must be it, right? This is it. This is the highest hit of dopamine that exists. But in reality, the highest of the high is being with your family and being in love and just dog, get off the thing. And with that, we'll be right back. Folks, you are not prepared for my announcement. The Light Phone 3 is out, folks. Yeah. Remember when we talked about pre-orders? Oh, yeah. You can still get it for a discounted price by using the link in the bio and supporting the show. But the Light Phone 3, folks, is phenomenal. You can find some reviews online on YouTube. Go to the website. But the Light Phone 3 is great. It's built perfectly. I should have mine in June, I think. And everything that I've seen come out is just that it's a phenomenal device. And if you are stuck in the Matrix and you're sick of hearing about the government and Doge and fucking woke and Snow White and the 7 woke dwarves or whatever your fucking algorithm's telling you, then you got to pick up a Light Phone 3, folks. It is the only way. Okay? So support the Unfunny Kevin Show. Buy Light Phone 3. Buy something from the Light Phone store using our proprietary code and help support the show. Folks, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Life is rough. You've got enough things on your plate. There's enough shit going on. And you can't take it anymore. So what do? Well, you go down to 7-Eleven and you say what's up to the guy. You know. I don't have to be racist. You know what I'm talking about. You say what's up to Sanjit. He's like, good morning, buddy. How are you? And you're like, hi, Sanj. Yeah, I'll take a Steel Reserve. Because, yeah, let's be honest, this is in preparation for unaliving. Sanj looks at you and he goes, what about your Marlboro Reds, buddy? And you go, oh, shit, that's right, Sanj. Buddy, come on, Marlboro Reds. We got 2 for $12.50 right now. Good deal. And that's it. That's the moment you realize, I don't need a Marlboro Red because I have an Oklahoma smoke. And you go outside, Sanj, I'll see you later. And you swap out, you don't even buy the Steel Reserve. You go outside and you take a deep breath. And you go, the Unfunny Kevin Show put me on a correct path. I fell off bad, but I'm back. And maybe you still go home and unalive, but you have an Oklahoma smoke. And before you do, you use the code UNFUNNYKVIN for 100% premium CBD, folks. These smokes are no joke. The Oklahoma smokes offer a release like no other. A substitute for your doobie, your blunt, your fucking blip, your whatever you're doing, and also your cigarette. 42-day money-back guarantee, over 40,000 happy customers, highest quality you can get on the market. What are you waiting for? Support the Unfunny Kevin Show. 21 or older. That's it. Thank you. All right. So, back to the show. So I had New Year. That was pretty fun. I don't know, bro. I think that generation's corrupted, but then I think about my experience in high school and Jesus Christ. I mean, I was fucking insane and I had no smartphone, you know, like those are the good days. Yeah, there were real bullies. I don't know, getting fucking fist fights all the time. When I was in high school, I'll never forget this. There was no Instagram, but I sold weed, among other things. And I remember I sold weed to this janitor. They used to have they used to have a program where you could be a TA, a teacher's assistant. And it was a period where basically the intention behind the TA was it was an elective period and you could go learn how it would be to be a teacher. A legitimate TA makes sense, right? So if you TA for someone in English, you would grade papers and fucking watch over the class with the professor and come up with curriculum. But I had the genius idea. I said, what if I TA for the janitor? By the way, I went on to do this 3 more times. I TA'd for the janitor. I TA'd for the special ed teacher. That was a great time. I TA'd for a health teacher, and then I TA'd for the librarian, who was senile, and you could do essentially whatever you want. I would smoke cigarettes in the library. It's a long story. No phones though, folks. No, we had phones, but nothing. I mean, they had cameras, but they're like fucking 8 megapixels. Nothing. You couldn't incriminate yourself, bro. It wasn't like now. But anyway, I sold weed to I was the janitor's TA, and I loved this guy. And if I remember correctly, I know one was Jeremy and the other one was Latrell. But Latrell was this black dude, and he had a Dodge Magnum. I thought it was the coolest car on planet Earth. And I would sell him weed, and sometimes we'd smoke it together in the Dodge Magnum. And he would tell me crazy things about life. And he really reminded me of fucking Leon from Curb Your Enthusiasm. Same vibe. Sometimes he'd have a do-rag. Like, he was just legendary. And he was just like, hey, man, you know, this weed's pretty good. And I'd be like, yeah, Leon, fuck yeah. And he'd just be like, you know, you don't want to end up like being a janitor. And I was like, it's kind of cool. I don't know. You get to smoke weed and hang out. You got your own little office back here. He had an office. It was legendary. Public school, bro. And he's like, yeah, but like, you got big dreams. And I was just like, yeah, maybe. I don't know. Like, I just need an A. And he was like, yeah, for sure. And I was like, yeah, speaking of A's, I know a lot of kids that are in this AP Euro class. And he goes, Miss Richie's word. Like, he knew immediately the class I was talking about. I was like, do you have keys? And he goes, keys? Hell yeah, I got keys. I was like, if I wanted to go like after school, like, and just steal the answer key and make a couple copies for these kids that want to get into really good colleges, what would you say? He goes, I'd say keep bringing me kush. And he just like high fives me. And I was like, great. It's awesome. I'm fucking genius, fucking dumb 16-year-old kid. So he gave me the keys, and I went after class, like after school closed, and I was able to snag like an answer key, and we made photocopies, and I sold them to the fucking kids. That is what you're missing out by being hooked up to social media. You know, that's fun. You have to have fun. That's enterprise. That's making a deal. That's salesmanship. It's entrepreneurship that you miss out being in the matrix of your fucking dumb phone. Anyways, moving right along. We're going to cover this user submitted story. Okay, this looks nuts. Is this fucking really happening right now? Hold on. It is. Okay. What? Okay, this is from the New York Post. World News, published March 27th. Jesus Christ. Protester in Pikachu suit. This is pretty funny. Protester in a Pikachu suit joins mass demonstrations in Turkey over arrest of Erdogan's top rival. Oh, shit. What's that, protester? It's Pikachu. Oh, my God. A demonstrator in a Pikachu costume joined thousands of protesters who took to the streets to express outrage over the arrest of Istanbul's mayor, who is President Tayyip Erdogan's political rival. The Pokemon-themed activist was seen marching and then fleeing when police officers and water cannons rushed to disperse the crowd. Nearly 1,900 people have been arrested so far. Oh, Jesus. Oh, my God, there's a little Pikachu running. This is real, folks. Oh, my God. What the fuck? This is so weird. Well, I mean, keep an eye on that. Look, if you're protesting, I mean, obviously, there must be something going on, you know? And, you know, we stand by you, and we also stand by Drogan. We play both sides here on the show. It's just, you have to. No, Turkey is a very complicated historical country, much like Iran, and it has lots of fucking problems. The world is not without problems. And hopefully, you know, America finds a way to not get involved, you know? Wouldn't it be nice? It would. Folks, listen, I love you guys. Thanks for hanging with me this week. Please leave a 5-star review on the Apple Podcast, Spotify stores. Write a comment. Go to unfunnykevin.com. Email the show at TheUnfunnyKevinShow@gmail.com. Call the hotline at 424-244-9599. I appreciate each and every one of you who listen and support the show. Support the sponsors. I got a show April 10th at like this apartment complex thing. It will not be on the website, but I will have shows leading up to it. So as soon as I get those up, I will post them. Thank you guys. I appreciate it. Have a great rest of your week.